Hi, this is Jennifer Daniels with John Broughton on Retrospectives on 3SER KC Radio. Good day, mates.
If you're asking me for an answer, I can only point you in the way I'm going.
Well, congratulations is the first thing I've got to say on the new album.
Hey, so we were so glad to get it back into our hands and actually be able to look at it and listen to it for real.
Does it get easier with each one?
No. In a certain sense it does. I feel more comfortable in the studio. But, it's just always its own little monster. It takes on a life of its own, and when you get the other players to come in, then, they add their own thing to it. So it's not difficult in the sense that I dread it, but it's certainly a challenge to make everything come together.
What are your expectations with this album? What would be a pleasing result for you in terms of sales and recognition?
Well, we're getting some good reviews already, so I'm pleased with that. I would love for, maybe to get some major distribution, so we just show up in regular stores around. Although the internet has helped us a bunch.
Yeah.
People can just go to their computer, say in Australia or wherever, and find our CD.
Were all the songs on the album, apart from the ones that have been re-recorded, are they all written since Dive and Fly?
I believe so. I sometimes will pull some out that I just hadn't worked on in a while. There might have been one or two like that on this CD. Most of them.
There were some that you did revisit from previous albums. Was there something about how they came out before that you wanted to amend this time around?
Well, the ones that were on our first CD, Fists of Flood, we wanted to redo because we actually retired that CD.
Oh, have you?
So since we don't sell it anymore and since it's not available to anyone, we didn't want the songs themselves to get lost. But, that recording was great as a first effort. We're really proud of it for that. But there are some things that we're just like, we want to achieve a level of professionalism now that maybe that didn't achieve. So we're trying to go on from there and just get better as we go along.
Right. What was the reason for putting Fists of Flood on the shelf like that? It was just purely financial? You just didn't want to print anymore, or?
We just didn't want to, as a first effort, some of the things in the studio weren't coming together as well as we can make them come together now.
Yeah.
So it just didn't sound as good as we wanted it to sound.
Okay.
As professional.
Yeah. Each album to date has gradually gone towards a bigger sound. Is that the direction you'll think you'll continue to take from now on?
That's such a great question, because after we got this one back, we were really pleased with how some of the songs were very, poppy or rock sounding.
Yeah.
But I think probably on the next CD we will try to go back to a more organic sound. We try on each CD to get the full range, just me and my guitar and then full band. So I'm sure one or two of the songs on the next CD will come out that way as well. But yeah, probably more of an emphasis on that mountain music sound that we were doing in the beginning.
That was the first thing that struck me when I heard the album, that it had gone towards a more poppier, rockier sound. But by the same token, you haven't abandoned the earthy, rootsy sounds. Do you think you struck a happy medium there between the two?
I think so. We kind of stacked the poppier songs in the beginning. So, say if some radio-friendly people wanted to come up and play those songs, then they could do that. But as far as the listeners who like the more stripped-down songs, we tried to put those more, say starting with the song Tattoo about the woman and her baby, and then on down through the rest of the album.
Yeah. Is that still an important thing to you, to the sequencing of the album? Is that's still a very important thing in these days when people can program a CD in any order they like? You still
Right.
you still think it's important to pay that attention to the sequencing?
Well, I like it because I kind of look at the collection of songs as a story or, say, a theme. And so I like for people to at least listen a couple times to the songs in order so that maybe they can get the feel and the mood and maybe a message of hope throughout it by taking them through, it starts out with Day to Live, which is certainly a very hopeful song in the midst of, say, dealing with tragedy or disappointment. And then you go to some songs that are pretty tragic, and then by the end, when it has that song I Don't Have Enough, which is almost like a gospel song, it's like bringing back in all that hope, and no matter how rough things get, no matter what a bad spell you're going through, that you still are loved enough to cope.
almost got a musical roller coaster ride going there, haven't you?
Yeah.
How's the feedback been from people who have been following your music since the first CD with regard to the more upbeat sound?
So far, so good. I tell them that when we're in concert, I'm like, y'all write me back right away if you like the CD, but if you don't like it, wait a few months because it'll hurt my feelings right now because it's too close. So maybe the people who don't like it just aren't writing me yet out of mercy. But I think they are into it. At least some people are.
You've been playing these songs live in a full band format as well?
We do when we can afford it. You know, it's too hard to travel full time with the band. But so usually it's me and Jeff, my husband. We just travel as a duo. But yeah, for some of the bigger shows that really want that whole big sound, we bring the whole band.
So it's purely a matter of finances.
Right.
Yeah. No doubt you would have road tested a lot of these songs leading up to the release of the album. How influential is it to you, the audience reaction to the new songs when choosing which ones to record and which ones not to?
I'm sure that's always in the back of my mind, but probably the most influential thing about playing the songs before you record them is that they begin to take their own shape. You know, they become themselves. You maybe sing them with different emphasis than you actually wrote them with in the beginning. The phrasing changes a little bit. The dynamics between chorus and verse and bridge, they all kind of take on their own life, so that when you get to the studio, it's not so much work on writing the song now because it's already taken on its own thing.
Right. So the arrangements don't so much change in the studio?
Not too much. Of course, when the musicians come in, maybe one of them will have an idea, oh, let's do it this way, and we'll try it, and if it works, then great, and yes, they will change. And probably more the narrative songs that I just do on my own or say with violin or accordion, those don't change as much.
Now, you released a live album in there as well between the last studio album and this one, didn't you?
I'm sorry, say again?
There was a live album in there as well, but since the last studio set.
Yeah, there was. We just felt like it was taking so long to raise the financial backing to put out another studio CD that we wanted to give people something, you know, to kind of bridge that time that it would take. So we did release a live concert that we did in North Carolina.
Did that take a little bit of pressure off you to allow you that little bit of extra time to get the new studio album ready?
It should have, because it was supposed to be we record it, then we duplicate it and release it. But ended up being the guy who was duplicating it. It ended up taking forever because he had all these problems with his studio. So it only put more pressure on.
Oh, did it?
Unfortunate.
So it didn't actually get out there when it was meant to?
Right. It was like, say, 9 months late or something like that. So the new Summerfield Sky studio CD was just right on its heels. That's really why we didn't hype it up too much. We're just like, okay, here it is. Do you want it? You can have it. But we have a new one coming out.
You could almost attach the two together and have it as a bonus disc.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. I ought to think about that.
Yeah, it's a marketing idea for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Since we last spoke, are there any areas of the states that have sprung up as good markets for you?
Yeah, I was really surprised that the Midwestern states, who, you know, we kind of think of them as these very kind, soft-spoken, make some cheese, grow some corn type of people. And we went up there, and really it just turned out that they were so sophisticated, and they were really willing to try a lot of different arts that maybe they weren't used to growing up or whatever, and they really liked us. So we're definitely going to go back to, you know, Minnesota and Wisconsin and North Dakota.
Now, the very first time we spoke, it was 6 years ago now, and you mentioned then that you had a 5-year plan for your career, and I think
that's so nice of you to remember these things.
The last time we spoke,
I did, didn't I?
Yeah, last time we spoke, you were in the middle of that 5-year plan, and you were quite happy with how it was going to date. Now that the 5 years have gone, have you gone through any reassessment of where you want to be?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're constantly reassessing to make sure that, I guess that we're hitting some of the goals, like, say, maybe the venues that we want to play. We keep trying to get into larger or maybe just better venues.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with where it is. I'm very content playing the places where we're playing. And, of course, there's always that drive to get it to more ears, to play the bigger places, to, you know, just to keep it growing. So we kind of walk this line between being content with it and enjoying every day what we're doing, getting in our Jeep, grabbing the dog, and heading to the next place. But, we also really want to make it a bigger thing where more and more people like it.
Yeah. Now, just to focus on this new album, tell us about some of the players on the album.
The players?
Some of the musicians, yeah.
Yeah, they a lot of them were the same as played on our other CD, Dive and Fly. Jerry Hansen, who's just incredible. He's played with, everybody. He was willing to come and play with us on drums. Did I say that? And let's see. Clay Cook played, who wrote some of John Mayer's hit songs with him. Just an incredible musician. He did a lot of electric guitar stuff. Of course, my husband, Jeff Neal, did a ton of stuff, and he's always, helping me write and adding just tasty licks everywhere. Marty Kearns did a lot of Hammond organ work, which added a nice kind of a gospel touch or a Motown thing.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I guess having the previous experience working with people must take a lot of the pressure off when you first go into the studio on a new project, having known these people before and worked with them before.
It does, and just those people, they're just good folks, and they're always cheerful, and they're really ready to work hard and make sure it gets done. They're not just always getting drunk or, adding a negative vibe or whatever. They're there to work, and they do it right, and it doesn't hardly take any time. So certainly if you choose the right folks, then it takes tons of pressure off.
Now, no, there were about 3 songs, I think, on this album co-written with Jeff.
Yeah, I went out shopping with my mom one day and came back, and he's like, "Hey, I wrote these songs. Let me play them for you." I'm like, "Excellent." So he had all the music laid out, and then we went back and kind of developed the melody and the lyrics together, and changed around the structure a little bit till it all worked. But yeah, that was fun for me to get to see him really using his talents like that.
Is that co-writing procedure starting to become something that's just as comfortable for you as writing alone?
It is with Jeff. I mean, since we're married, we're so intimate anyway that it's very easy to sit down and just share your heart or sing a line that you totally mess up and sound crazy on. Because I know he loves me and it's no problem. But I don't know, if I was doing it with somebody else, if I was trying to write with someone else, I'd probably be a little more inhibited.
Yeah. How much of your songwriting is inspired by your surroundings, where you live? Do you think you'd write the same type of songs living in another environment?
I know that I would write different songs in a different environment because there is so much about the mountains. I live up on a mountain near Chattanooga, Tennessee, and just going out to the bluffs and the time that I can just spend there being still and, say, being in prayer or just thinking about the landscape or, whatever my thoughts tend to go to, I know that influences my creativity.
And just talk about some of the songs on the album. A song like Welcome to Your Life has the feel of a real, well, it sounds like a radio single to me. Are there plans to release anything from the album as a single?
Well, that is the one that's getting the most attention. You were right. You have a good ear for that. And we recorded it in such a way that it would be radio friendly. We've had a couple people playing it when we just sent it to radio stations. I don't know if it's in regular rotation anywhere, but I would certainly love for it to be if they want to.
Tattoo was another interesting song on the album. You mentioned it briefly before, seemingly a personal lyric there. Can you tell us a little bit about how that one came about?
Which one, I'm sorry?
Tattoo?
Oh, Tattoo, yeah. I was, let's see. Well, I've always been fascinated with my mom telling me the story of my birth or different childhood stories. My brother and I'll just beg her, tell us that one again, tell us that. And she tells it in all this drama and makes it this big deal. And she actually did not have a C-section, but the way the song was coming about, it worked really well for this woman to have a scar on her that instead of seeing it as a scar or a wound, she would rather see it as, this tattoo, this beautiful mark that reminds her of the treasure of her life, her child. It was one of those that was just kind of almost given to me. Like I just, some of the songs I really have to labor at, and I spend even months trying to get all the lyrics just right. And this one just kind of all fell into place one day as I was singing it, and so it was an easy one.
Yeah. There's no set rule for songwriting, is it? That they can come in any old way.
I know, it's so true. You're kind of at the mercy of the creative inspiration dancing spirit.
Now, I noticed on the album credits you thanked Dion Osborne for teaching you how to take...
Right. Are you familiar with Dion, or you're just asking about the training?
Yeah, I'm not aware of Dion at all. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah, she works for Jan Smith Studios in Atlanta. They teach all kinds of people, like Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20, and just all kinds of people they have on their walls, that they've helped. And I was lucky enough to get in with her, even though she's a busy lady. She just, within the first lesson, she's a very animated person, so she would grab my hand and she would hold it to her stomach and be like, she would make these crazy noises like, hey, oh, and like, can you feel what my stomach's doing? Can you feel, how I'm breathing? And then she'd make me touch her throat, and she would, go, oh, and do all these crazy sounds. And I would have to see, okay, now how am I doing that differently? And when I would reach up my whole head to grab a high note, and she's like, no, that means you're making your vocal cords work vertically, and they don't do that. They work horizontally. And she would teach me how to kind of retrain my muscles to do the right thing. And it's been great for me. Like, I am reaching notes that I never even knew I could reach, even in my whole voice, not having to break into that half voice.
Right, so you really found that helped you in the studio?
Oh my gosh, it totally helped. And the breathing exercises and everything. I'm very excited about it.
You talked about wanting to gain wider distribution before. What about international distribution? Is that something you've looked into at all as well?
It's definitely on the list of overwhelming tasks I hope to get to. We'll have people, like, say, you interested in us, and then people will hear your show and they'll go to our website. Oh, by the way, which is jenniferdaniels.com.
Yes.
And, they'll grab the CD from there. Or, like, sometimes we'll get letters from, I don't know, Belgium or Germany or wherever, and they'll be wanting to play the CD on the radio. So it definitely helps, but as far as formal distribution, we have not done that at all.
Right. The internet has been fantastic for you, hasn't it, really?
It's just opened up the whole world to us. We could never have reached this amount of people, if it wasn't for that. I can't imagine what people were doing, like, before the internet. I guess they weren't able to make a career in it, at least as well.
Just looking at your website and just checking what you've been up to lately, I noticed that you recently took part in a program called Grammy in the Schools.
Yeah, that was a really fun day. We got together with some players like Ed Rowland from Collective Soul and some other really great players. We went to this kind of a conference center, and then they bussed a bunch of the kids in. A lot of them were from really low-income places that maybe wouldn't have the resources to see that kind of thing or hear that kind of music. And so they heard a lot of music, and then we broke into smaller groups where they could just ask us questions. And, of course, everybody knew the guy from Collective Soul, and they were asking him good questions. And then we're supposed to give our little spiel, and I was like, well, I'm Jennifer Daniels. Who's heard of me? And, of course, nobody raises their hand. And I was like, well, that's my point, that there are tons of great, musicians out there who are making a living off of it. But, you may not be rich and famous, but you may be very satisfied with your life. So that's kind of the key point I was trying to get to them, is that, maybe the best goal is not riches and fame. Maybe the best goal is to be really happy with what you do and to create great music.
Yeah, sure. Was it a learning experience for yourself there as well, bouncing off other songwriters?
Oh, yeah. Anytime you can get together with such great writers, you learn so much. It's very humbling, and it also helps you to kind of get in gear and try harder to do better. And
what are the plans for the rest of 2004?
Well, we are taking Summerfield Guide, this new CD, to all the cities where we have a little bit of a following. Hitting a lot of colleges and clubs and some festivals. Basically just touring really hard with this release so that everybody can have their chance to hear it.
Yeah. And maybe somewhere in there drawing up a new 5-year plan?
I know, right? Sounds like I need one. I'm sporadically going about into the different places in my career. Yeah, sure. Maybe even a 1-year plan. That'd be good to get me motivated.
Listen, Jennifer, it's fantastic to catch up with you again, as it always is. We've stuck with you since Fists of Flood, and we'll continue to check in and see how you're going.
Thank you. I really appreciate how you've remembered us, John. It means a lot.
That's great. And but what I might do is I might send you some contact details of a few distributors down here and see maybe
Wonderful.
we'll hook you up with one of them.
That would be wonderful. And send me some guys who are booking little tours down there. We'd love to come down to Australia.
I'll do that as well.
Okay, great.
Great, Jennifer. Thanks a lot. Give my best to Jeff as well.
Okay.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.